PC gaming is a bit of a nightmare at the moment, especially if you're looking to build a system yourself and have the latest hardware inside. Firstly, there's the dreaded stock issues that we're all dealing with, and if you've never built a PC before, it can be quite daunting, even just the basics. I wish these files would transfer faster. Come on! Whoa, is that the FireCuda 510 NVMe drive with its blistering fast speeds of 3450 megabytes a second read, 3200 megabytes a second write, and capacities of up to 2 terabyte? I can have these files transferred in no time. And if I'm looking for the ultimate performance, I could even get the 4th generation FireCuda 520. I better check the link in the description to find out more details. Take a look from this perspective. Just getting a power supply that is suitable for an RTX 3080 or 3090 can be a problem in itself, with users reporting issues even with decent brand power supplies. The stock issues that we're all faced with, and then when retailers actually do have stock, the prices that they're being sold for is just ridiculous. It's as if some retailers have pretty much become scalpers themselves. So what is a guy to do when he just wants to splash out some cash on a system that can play the latest games and of course look ballin' at the same time? Ballin'? Did I seriously just say ballin'? Yes, I did. Well, there's good news. Fierce PC think that they have you covered with the Arcane, a fully kitted out system featuring the latest Zen 3 AMD CPU and NVIDIA RTX 3080 for those astounding looking visuals. With a huge focus on design and visuals, the whole system is housed inside the TechWare VXR case, giving you a stunning view no matter what angle you look at it from. The RGB fans and the memory really add a nice finishing touch as the lights bounce off the 2 large glass panels. Case and lighting aside, the big standout feature is that this pre-built system comes with a pre-configured custom loop. While I personally am a fan of going big or going home, Fierce PC have decided to only call the CPU, but for very good reason. During their own testing, they found that the latest Ryzen 5 5600X that they're using saw consistent boost results up to 4.6 GHz for sustained levels of time, thanks to the combination of Barrow, Water Cooling UK and XSPC custom loop parts. The choice with custom loop parts has also meant that Fierce PC have been able to put all of this together for a similar price as it would have cost if they used an all-in-one cooler. And you do have to admit, this looks a lot better for it as well, giving you the ability for lower acoustics too. But speaking of lower acoustics, I have found that this has got a fan controller on the back, and the fans have 2 fan speeds. Loud or really loud. It's just a bit too much for my liking. To help get the most from the CPU is the Asus ROG Strix B550F Gaming, giving us the latest functionality, amazing aesthetics, and blistering fast speed where it matters most. Of course, I'm talking about the 500GB Gen 4 Seagate FireCuda 520 NVMe drive. I mean, we use them a lot ourselves in our own testing. They're amazing. Now, don't worry though, if you are looking to install more than just, I don't know, Call of Duty, they've slapped a Seagate BarraCuda 1TB hard drive inside too. To add more bling but also give us more performance than what the average gamer needs, the system comes with a whopping 32GB of 3600 MHz Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro memory. So whether you're gaming or even editing, this system will definitely have you covered. If you are gaming, the Asus TUF RTX 3080, which we've reviewed ourselves, will be more than enough manpower, even for the latest titles like Cyberpunk 2077 and Call of Duty Cold War. Even if you want to play it at higher resolutions with full-on ray tracing for that extra level of immersion. Taking it one step further, in conjunction with the latest NVENC encoder and the 12-threaded Ryzen 5600X, this PC will game and stream simultaneously with ease, because anyone who's anyone these days streams, right? Now, I mentioned at the start of this video that power supplies can be making a tricky kind of point with any PC. Making sure you have enough power is one thing, but with these latest RTX 30 series cards, making sure the 12-volt rail can handle it, well, that's a completely different story. Well, you'll be pleased to know that this system has a RM750 fully modular gold-rated PSU from Corsair, with a single 12-volt rail that provides a stonking 62.5 amps, more than enough to tame the tough RTX 3080 from Asus. Now, you probably noticed that this system is balls to the walls with cooling, and that's because it has a total of 9 TechWare Orbis F3 RGB fans, 3 as intake on the bottom, 3 as exhaust on the top, and 3 keeping this single 360mm rad nice and cool at the side of the case. As I mentioned though, just a little bit too loud for my liking. With the ability to change the lighting to anything your heart desires, the limit really is your imagination. Do you want it this color, that color, and there's a handy little button on the top to change it. I quite like that. Now, whenever I get a system in that's not been built by me, I always get eager to see how their cable management is. Anyone who's watched my videos of anything before will know that I'm a firm believer in making it all good on kind of the business side and trying your best on the side that you're not going to see. On the business side, things are looking pretty good. The first standout point is that the pump has a sleeve cable, something that Liang D5 pumps don't normally come with as standard. I think we can safely say that that's XSPC's doing, but still, it can be a massive oversight in a lot of builds and is pretty much one of the first things I get done when I get a new pump. Get it sleeved so that you haven't got that blue, green, yellow looking cable. One thing I did notice is this cable up here. It's just kind of a little bit rogue, but you know, it could have happened in transit. So on the other side, because of the nature of the case, things are actually looking pretty decent there too. Plenty of ventilation, plenty of room for cable management. I think they've actually done a pretty decent job. But the main reason you're here is that you all want to see exactly how all these high-end parts come together and see exactly how it performs, right? So first up is Call of Duty Warzone, still a very, very popular game. We're at 4K, obviously we've got the 3080. Everything is pretty much maxed out. There's no frame rate limit, everything's on high or ultra or enabled. So let's get into a game. So frame rate wise, we're getting 100 frames per second, just scouting around, looking for stuff in Warzone. Let's try and get into a bit of action, shall we? And we've got one down and we're still getting sort of 80 frames per second, so pretty decent overall. I mean, this is with everything maxed out, so pretty happy with that on the RTX 3080 inside the system. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so next game up is Control, and again we're at 4K, but we have got the render resolution set slightly down at 1440. That's because DLSS is on, just because this is such a demanding game. We've got the quality preset on high and ray tracing also set to high, so let's jump into it. So anyone who's played Control will know how demanding this game is just in general, but it looks absolutely amazing. Just the way that the shadows kind of change from when you sort of walk in the light, out of the light, and the reflections that we get on the window and stuff as well. And you can still see that we are getting 60 frames per second, 69, 74. So very, very decent numbers overall. Obviously there's not much going on, but this game isn't really full of tons of action or anything like that. But still, it's just about kind of the visual aspects and the aesthetics of the game and how reflections look and how lighting works. And obviously, in conjunction with the RTX 3080 and ray tracing enabled, you just get a really, really nice looking game. And at 4K, we're still getting pretty decent frame rates of around 60 frames per second. Okay, so next game up is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Some people love it, some people hate it. Again, we're at 4K, VSync off, resolution scale set to 100%. And graphic wise, well, we're on pretty much the top of the top, ultra high graphics quality. Everything is maxed out. Let's get into the game. So in a village, or just outside of a village, we've just actually done a raid. We're getting 51 frames per second. The game still feels absolutely playable, smooth, perfect pretty much. Let's see if we can get into some action. All right, let's get into a raid, shall we? So still getting 47 frames at the moment, 48. I mean, it's not that magical 60 number, but things still feel really smooth. I mean, the graphics look absolutely amazing on this game. Just the haze and all the different effects, just the natural kind of weather and stuff like that. All right, let's get into this. So even during a fight, we're actually getting slightly better frame rates. We're closer to that kind of magical 60 number. 59, pretty much locked in at around 57, 58 frames per second. So pretty decent overall. So next up is Watch Dogs Legion. So again, we're at 4K, VSync turned off, and there's no FPS limit. And when we go to quality, DirectX 12, everything is set to ultra. While we could sort of figure and sort of move about with certain things, I think ultra is going to be a good standpoint. We do want ray tracing on, so we're going to set that to high. And we're going to put DLSS onto balanced mode, and we can see how that looks. So we're in game, and again we're close to sort of the 60 frames per second marker. We have got ray tracing on and obviously DLSS, which some people complain is going to add some graininess to it and whatnot, but in this game at 4K, it looks absolutely fine. Let's go and see kind of what's going on. 52 frames per second, 51. Yeah, I mean, it's still perfectly playable. So no real kind of problem there. I do love this game and the fact that you can just make vehicles kind of move out your way just by going, you go over there, you go over there. It's just great fun. So yeah, 51 frames per second, 53, more than playable, and a pretty decent game as well. It's funny, when we actually get into the action on this game, the frame rate seems to go up a little bit. It went up to sort of 60, 63 there. Either way, looks great, plays great. It's a pretty damn great game. Now, obviously, we couldn't test this PC without running a little run on Cyberpunk. So again, we're at 4K, maximum FPS is off, VSync is off, and going over to graphics, we've got the quick preset set to RayTracing Ultra, which means all the texture quality is on high, everything is maxed out. There's only two real differences, which is the screen space reflections quality, which you can go up to Psycho, and also the ray trace lighting, which again, you can go up to Psycho if you want. DLSS we're going to set to auto. In my own experience, I found that balanced is good. Ultra performance does have a little bit of grain to it, but auto should be pretty good. So again, I mean, considering the graphics quality you get with like reflections and things like that, we're currently getting 55 frames per second. This is quite a weird game because a lot of people moan about not getting, you know, these amazing frame rates in it and stuff like that, but I play this at home on my own personal rig where 3090 with VSync on set to 30 frames per second, and it runs absolutely fine. So probably going to get my ass completely handed to me here, but let's just have some fun, shall we? See what kind of frame rate we get. And yes, I am using Mantis blades just because, you know, why not? So we're getting 42 frames per second. Things are looking good. Yeah, definitely recommend getting the Mantis blades if you haven't got them yet. And yeah, I mean, 40 frames per second, it doesn't feel sluggish or anything like that. It still feels absolutely amazing. And obviously it is an amazing game as well. So the spec we have here isn't exactly cheap, but it's no slouch either, as you saw. Coming in at £2,099 and 95p with Windows 10 Home included and fully backed by a 5-year Protect warranty, giving you 5 years labour, 2 years parts and free carriage for the first year. Could you build better for the money? At the moment, I honestly don't believe you could because, well, stock issues, scalping issues and everything that we spoke about before. If you were to build better, let us know in the comments section below. What kind of spec would you go with? I'd pretty much do something very similar, but in my personal opinion, I'd be looking at water blocking the GPU and probably sticking in another radiator, but that is all going to bump up the price. So there you have it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know exactly what to do, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.